Let's talk about the Nifty 50. 50 millimeters is a focal length that I have avoided for quite some time. And what I mean by that is I had two 50s at my disposal for many years. And they were both vintage lenses, by the way. So these are the Minolta, the Minolta 50-1.4. And there's a 50-2.8, that's a macro. And I've used these lenses sparingly here and there. The macro one I did get quite a bit of use out of because I've experimented with some product stuff here in my home studio and whatever, But I wouldn't say that I have used a 50 millimeter prime in any meaningful way for any substantiating length of time. Very recently, last year, I purchased a 35 millimeter equivalent for my Fuji, my X-T2. And I used it around the house for, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 months. And there were some things, there were some awakenings, right? One, I enjoyed using a prime. So that thing people say about zooming with your feet, it's quite pleasant, right? There is this intimacy that exists when, if you want a tighter composition, then you come in closer, and you get to see people's reaction of like, oh man, he's coming in. Let me. You know what I mean? And it shows in those images, and it's quite nice. I even took the 35 out a few times to do some street work, and it was cool. But what I noticed, because again, I've done a video on this channel about reassessing every 6 months where I am as a photographer. And that for me helps me to be very intentional on critiquing the work that I've done and also the tools and the direction I want to adopt moving forward. So looking at the 35, I started to notice a lot of the photos. I thought because I'm such a big fan of using zooms for that versatility. And this comes from, really, I'll just call it what it is, just laziness, right? Like, zooms are just dope. And a lot of these new zoom lenses, a lot of the recent, more modern ones in the last 5 years, perhaps even a little older, are so clinically sharp. That old stigma that you want to use a prime over a zoom because zooms are not as sharp as a prime, it's starting to fade. And I think it's still going to be true. But zoom lenses these days are so sharp, they're sharp enough. You know what I mean? Like, if you're looking for more sharpness than a zoom lens can give you today, then I don't know what to tell you, fam. Go get your prime at the end of the day, right? The 35, my perception from the outside before shooting primes was, I don't want my work to be claustrophobic. And what I like about a zoom is I can come in, and if I don't like it, I'll continue to change the composition. And I thought my biggest problem shooting a prime lens would have been capturing the image, looking at it in post, and thinking to myself, this is claustrophobic. I should not have been this close. In fact, it was quite the opposite. What I discovered is shooting with primes forces you to think about the composition first. And if you're thinking about the composition, then you're thinking about the subject, the placement of the subject. You are assessing what's in the background. You are assessing your depth of field. You are assessing your angles, your perspectives. And I find that it yields a better photograph. However, 35 in most cases felt weird. In almost all the photos, even though I was happy with the composition, they felt either not tight enough or too much background. I'm still struggling to explain this, but there was something about the 35 that didn't feel right for me. On my Olympus, I have the 45 millimeter lens, and a 45 millimeter lens on an Olympus really is an 85 to 90 equivalent. And I quite love that focal length. I love 85s, right? There's this, that compression, the depth of field and the compression, the way it flattens the image, the way your subject can be as tall as the building in the background. Like, I love the hero shots that come out of an 85. However, it's a very niche thing, you know what I mean? You got to be in the mood to shoot that. It's a very intentional thing, a very purposeful grab when I'm using that 85. So I've had this context of what I love with the 85, but I don't want it every day. And what I'm not loving about the 35, like, there has to be a middle ground. That, my friends, is the 50. So I went out and I bought the 50 millimeter equivalent for my Olympus. And I always target my Olympus first because it's the camera that gets the most use for me, because it's the smallest, the lightest, the most portable. I can have it in my everyday carry when I'm going to work. I can grab it when we're going on a walk with the family. I can grab it when we're going to dinner with the wife because it's not a big camera sitting on the table. It's not intimidating. You know what I mean? Like, it's got so many use cases. So whenever I'm thinking about something, I'll look toward the Olympus first. Not to mention, it's an older system, so lenses do come quite cheap for it. And the lenses are really good. Immediately, I fell in love with the 50 on the Olympus. Immediately. And there are so many things about it, like capturing my daughter, my wife, and just the house. And there's this thing about a 50 where it captures enough of the background, but more of the subject. So it gives you, it pops the subject. It gives the subject a very hero pose, a very hero stance and vibe, and then the background for context. That is what I was missing with the 35. I felt like the 35 never really made my subject a hero in the way I wanted it to. And maybe, I don't know. I got to do a video on 35, right? I got to go back and I got to look at my notes and I got to look at the photos from that lens, and I'll get back to you guys. The 50. The wife asked what I wanted for Christmas, which is what I'm shooting on right now. I wanted the Mikey 55-18. And yes, that was it. Now you see what I'm saying. Now I'm committing. I want a 50 on my Sony now. Not only for just because my A7 IIs I use around the house as well. And I'll take those, you know, that's no longer my professional workhorse. It can transition into both. But like, I did a few portraits on the A7 IV with the 55 millimeter. And I was like, whoa, this is a nice field of view, the perspective, the depth of field. The 1.8 feels nice because I'm of the opinion that 1.4 and 1.2, like that's a little too much for me. I like to see both eyes in focus. Like even right now, I'm shooting this video at 1.8. And I'm shooting this video at 1.8 because I have quite a bit of distance from the camera. So I'm not worried about like maybe my eye and my ear won't be in focus at the same time at 1.8. But I can enjoy the depth of field that it gives me on the background. Like the background's fairly blurred out, but you can still make out what it is. I find at 1.4 and 1.2 it gets a little too much for me. So now I'm making a commitment to 50. And then I borrowed my friend's Nikon ZF. He has the Voigtlander 50 on there. That's a 51 too. My God, what a wild lens. So I'm surrounded by 50s. And for the last, I'd say 3 months or so, I've been shooting exclusively with 50s outside of my studio work. And I'm going to transition that in my next studio session. I am enjoying the perspective I get from a 50mm lens. There is this balance to it. There's this balance of giving my subject the attention and love it deserves, but also allowing the background to add context and an overall build to the image. This is pretty dope. This is pretty dope. Now I'm starting to see like, oh man, I hear these people all, the human eye has the equivalent of 50mm. That still doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Maybe some more time and I'll figure it out. And then also, guys, as a photographer, I don't feel the need to know every single thing about the craft. I just need to understand enough to make the work I need to make. Understanding why the human eye sees in a 50mm equivalent is important to some work I need to make, then I'll invest in it. But whatever. They saying it, I'm trusting them, it is what it is. But like, it's such a simple focal length to get on with. It does everything you need it to. If you need to capture a wider scene, step back. Right? And I get it. There's these times when, and I haven't run into it, but I know it can happen because I'm familiar now and I'm getting more familiar with the focal length where you just can't back up enough. And maybe a 35 would be better. Maybe a 28 would be better. Yeah, I get it. For me, I have not run into that. And if I haven't run into that in my home, I have a little more confidence that I won't run into it out in the wild. And now I'm becoming more confident leaving the house with just my 50, right? Relinquishing the idea that I need a zoom lens because I'll need to get wide. And then if it presents itself, I can just punch in super quick. Like, no, I want to change my approach to my work now. I want to think about my composition before I hit that shutter button. And I think 50, that's one of the biggest things 50 gives to me, is the gift of intention. And I'm quite enjoying it. I love the way portraits, I did a few studio portraits with it, and versus when I do studio portraits, I'll be in the other room because I'm shooting with my 70 to 200 or 70 to 180, whatever that Tamron, right? And I love the way the portraits look, but there's something about the 50 that just gave it this natural feeling like, I need to do more of this. I really need to do more of this. So yeah, for right now, I am really enjoying my journey with the 50mm. I feel like I'm late, but I'm also, I don't feel any particular way because when I pay attention to photographers out there who are farther along in their journey or have been on a journey long enough, you start to see this thing where they'll say, oh, when I first started, 50 was it. And then I learned the blessings of 35 or a zoom lens. And then there are other people who said, oh, I first started on a zoom and then I went prime and I never looked back. And then if you watch them long enough, they'll come back and be like, oh, I'm going back to my prime. So I don't really feel a way about being late to the party because I think as photographers, we'll forever be changing our equipment and how we interact with it. So for me, this is just a part of my journey and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that I'm discovering, because at the end of the day, what I'm imagining is my experience with a 50, and I got to go back to the 35, give it some more time. I just made that commitment in my mind. My time spent with the 85, my time spent with zooms. These are all tools in my bag that I can say, if I have a specific look that I'm looking for, I know the tool that I can use to execute it. If I want to have a super heroic background that's it's nice and compressed, and the subject looks like they belong on a poster of Avengers movie, then I'll grab my 70 to 180, right? And I'll get it done that way. And if I'm looking for something that's super tack sharp and it's got details, but the background's still obliterated, maybe I'll invest in an 85 prime. And you know, like there's all these things, and it's just a tool. It's just a tool. And for right now, I'm really enjoying the 50. And as for this Mikey 55-1.8, my God, what a sharp lens paired with my A7 IV. It's nuts. It is nuts. I don't know how this lens is only 350. I was watching a Tony and Chelsea video the other day where they said something that was very interesting, where this was a theory of theirs, and it makes sense, quite honestly. The Chinese manufacturers had reverse engineered a lot of like the Zeiss lenses and the G Master stuff, and now they can produce the very close quality for a fraction of the price. And when I was researching a nice affordable budget 50 for my Sony, the Mikey was at the top of the list. And from what I can tell, the image quality sat pretty close to the Zeiss Batis or the 50G Master, and it ain't $2,500 worth. I think it's a phenomenal deal. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with what 50 been doing for me recently. I'm curious to see where you guys land. Do any of you guys shoot with 50? Any advice you can give me? Anything any exercises you can give me to help me get even more acclimated? I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, as I like to say, time is the most valuable resource that we have, and I thank you so much for sharing it with me here today. I do not take that lightly. You can like the video if you like it, subscribe if you want to stick around and see more. In the description, you'll find links to all of my affiliate links to all of my gear that I use here, help a brother out. You'll find links to my social media. You'll find links to my website to check my workout. And once again, thank you. My name is Ramon, and I'm out of here. Peace.